You already read the title. No intro. So it's been a while since I have done one of these sit down, get ready with me story time types of videos, and you read the title, so I'm not going to reiterate what it is that I'm about to do. So if you didn't know this already, I live in LA. I was born and raised in Southern California, and I will likely die in Southern California because there is no other city in the world that I love more than LA, mostly because of its climate. It's almost always sunny here, aside from the fact that, you know, its winters can drop below 50 degrees. I'll let that slide. I mean, it has really nice weather. I love that I have to commute everywhere. The traffic could be better, but I'm a commuting kind of girl, you know? Every time I try to romanticize the idea of like living in a walkable city, it always seems nice, but every time I travel to a walkable city, I'm just like, no, this isn't for me. That being said, LA does have its faults. We have a huge homeless population, and it's not because we can't take care of them. We actually can. We have all the resources lined up ready to take care of homeless people and to help them get back on their feet, but like all things in America, we don't streamline those things because we care about other things. We have like a really bad water problem because we don't have the infrastructure built up to sort of store all the rainwater that we had gotten this year. But today I wanted to talk more about my personal crazy experiences that happened right here in LA. The first crazy experience, and I feel like everyone who's lived in LA has had this happen to them at least once. Someone is always trying to like, I don't know if the right word is kidnap, but like someone's always trying to kidnap you or like find information from you or like traffic you or something like that. There is one specific instance in my life that I'm thinking to right now, and it all happened like September-ish in 2020. So this was 6 months after the initial outbreak of COVID, when everyone was under lockdown. At this time, the beaches in LA were pretty open. We were really careful whenever we were in really populous areas. We decided to go to the beach because it was like the end of summer and it wasn't too hot. I decided to take my sisters to go to the beach just to get some time outside because all this time inside was making them like vitamin D deficient or whatever. And so we went to the beach. We stayed there for a couple of hours. We had like a really good time. We had a picnic and everything was going really well. After a typical beach day, it is very normal for one to use the bathroom at the beach to clean oneself off. And so that is what my sisters and I did. At that time, my sisters were 9, 11, and 16. Around those ages. So whenever we were done playing at the beach, we were just getting ready to clean up, change, and get ready to go. I was helping one of my sisters in one of the bathroom stalls because she was like young and she didn't know how to like cover herself, you know, and do all that. It's a whole thing every time you go to the beach, having to like change in front of everyone and hold like a towel to make sure your boob doesn't slip out. It was a whole thing. So I was helping my little sisters do that. So while I was helping one of my little sisters finish up in the stall, my other two sisters were waiting, I'd say like 20 to 30 feet away from me. So they were pretty close, but like not too close to the point where you could like. So as they were waiting for me to finish up in the stalls, a man approaches them and tells them to come over to where he's standing. Now he's standing about another 20 feet away from my sisters. And so he's calling them over non-stop, and he calls them over maybe about 10 times. I had no idea that this was happening because I was still in the stall figuring out how to get my sisters clean and changed so that we could go. The moment that I was done with one of my sisters, I turn around and I look at my sisters and they're like sort of like frozen in action because they don't know what to do. There's this man who's calling them from 20 feet away, telling them to come over, and I could hear him talking to them because I'm trying to make out what it is that he's telling them, and he's saying from a distance like, hey, you're 18, right? You're 18, right? And he keeps saying that they're 18. Instantly, my mom instincts kind of like go up, and all I could really think about in that moment was safety for my sisters because he kept calling them over. So instantly, as I hear him asking for my sister's number and hearing that he's claiming that they're 18, like a mother instinct like flares up inside of me, and I lose it. Immediately, I'm trying to make sure that he doesn't get close to the girls. The fact that he had to confirm that they were 18 just means that he was up to no good. And so I'm furious. And so the sister who I just finished helping out in the stall, I told her to wait there. And as she's waiting there, I'm like walking towards this man and just yelling at him. Like, I'm yelling at him because what he was saying was just literally crazy. I was just yelling like that they're underaged, you shouldn't be speaking to them. people were kind of looking in our direction. I wasn't yelling so loud that it would cause so much attention, but I guess the people who were in the immediate near vicinity of whatever was happening kind of heard it, and so they like turned, but it wasn't that big of a deal. I grabbed and collected my sisters and we all like finished cleaning up. We left afterwards. Before we left the beach though, I told my boyfriend of what happened. At this time, my boyfriend was just gathering all of our supplies, like the picnic basket, like the blankets and all the things that we had already set up while I was helping my sisters. And so we told him what happened. And this is why I am so forever grateful for having him in my life, because the second I told him, he went to confront the man who tried to literally kidnap my underage sisters. So ladies, if you have a boyfriend and he's not willing to stand up for you, then he ain't the one. So my boyfriend went to go confront the man who tried to traffic my sisters and tell him that it's not okay to be doing that, because the second that I collected my sisters, I saw him do the same thing to a bunch of other girls who were walking nearby, who also looked very young and looked very vulnerable, like they didn't have supervision, adult supervision nearby. The second that my boyfriend confronted him, this guy just like blew up and got really angry. And that's how you know that he actually was up to no good, because if you had nothing to hide, why would you blow up and like make such a big deal out of it? So my boyfriend and that man were just spewing things back and forth, and so as my boyfriend is saying all these things like you shouldn't be talking to underage girls, asking for their phone numbers, saying that they're sexy, sexualizing them because they're just kids and we shouldn't be doing that. This man makes a couple of retorts and he says, "You're only picking on me because I'm a black man." And I personally, however, don't think that that was relevant to the fact that this man tried to kidnap my underage sisters. Couldn't care less what color you are. It was just a wrong thing to do. You can't be talking to underage kids and sexualizing them, making inappropriate remarks about them, trying to capture them. Just no one should be sexualizing and trying to kidnap kids. And so this man is really just making it not about the thing that was the issue at the very beginning, because the issue was that he was talking to my underage sisters and really trying to get their phone number, and he was following them. That was the original issue. A lot of people heard the confrontation between my boyfriend and the other man who tried to kidnap my sisters. As like this whole confrontation is going on, more and more people are swarming around us and they're not doing a single thing. It's just crazy to me that anytime some crazy event happens, people are more likely and more inclined to just pull out their phones and record it and post it, as opposed to taking a stance or like doing the right thing or standing in support of doing the right thing. It was just a really upsetting thing to see that people who saw what was happening, heard the conversation, heard me, heard my boyfriend say that, you know, you sexualizing and calling my sisters, my underage sisters over and trying to get their phone numbers and things like that. Like, that's not right. It's just upsetting to know. So after about 10 or so minutes of us just arguing back and forth with this guy, it didn't seem like we were going to be able to rationalize with him. So we decided to just leave it because it wasn't going to go anywhere. But before we left, we wanted to make sure that he wasn't going to be doing that to other people. People go missing all the time and people get trafficked all the time. I didn't want to see something on the news knowing that I could have done something to prevent it. We told one of the cops who was sort of monitoring beach safety of what was happening, and we saw them go down to the area where the man was doing, you know, his shady stuff. And so after that, we kind of just went home. Now, some people could say that I might have been too overly cautious and like what he was doing and saying to my sisters might not be construed as necessarily like kidnapping or like trafficking, but regardless, it was suspicious behavior. And if he's doing that to a lot of underage people and claiming that they are of age, anything could have happened, and I'm not willing to risk that. Now, wasn't that the most light and fun story ever? I think the most important takeaway from that experience is teaching my sisters and teaching other people to be vocal about things that they see isn't right. And so that is just one of the slew of crazy stories that I have experienced in LA. All right, I'm done with my makeup and I'm also done with my story. So if you enjoyed this video and if you would like to see more of these story times, then let me know down in the comments. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one.